Assalamu alaikum. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about and going through how I started a very small business from home and grew it to a six-figure business. So initially I purchased some stock and put it out on Instagram just to test it out and see how, sisters and everybody takes to it and if they like it. As I recommend you do. So I definitely recommend to test everything out first before you commit to, branding and websites and all these things. So initially I tested it out on Instagram and alhamdulillah, it did pretty well. So I started to accept orders through DMs, accepting payments through PayPal and bank transfer. Of course, PayPal is a lot safer, especially for the customer. The customer is guaranteed pretty much to get their money back if, the seller cannot prove that they have dispatched the items and stuff. So, PayPal typically favors the buyer for sure. So in that sense, they had, security and some sort of guarantee. So I continued to accept orders through DMs. And I began to be honest with you guys, I literally did not even have a personal Instagram account up until that point. I was not on social media at all. I did not know how to use social media. I was not a social media person at all. So this was like literally my first social media account. This was my first Instagram account. And I started to explore Instagram and realize that there's things like giveaways that you could do that boosted my sales for sure, because, that would help me grow my following. So I was very new to things like hashtags. I began to explore the whole hashtag situation. And, definitely sales did come through hashtags because people do search things like and actually follow hashtags like khimars, abaya, jilbab, jilbabi, niqab. So the customers definitely came through that way. And also I began to discover things like giveaways, and giveaways would, encouraging your followers to tag other potential customers for you. That definitely increased my audience on Instagram. And then things like, doing collabs with sisters who maybe have like 5 to 10K followers. I did have some issues with, competitors and stuff, telling people not to work with me, not to follow me. So there was that kind of difficulty at the beginning for sure. You wouldn't expect sisters to do things like that, but alhamdulillah, managed to get through it. And then there were things like, you get to boost a post on the side. There's a little button under your post saying you can boost the post, which is actually paid advertising, really. It's not the best form of advertising, but that definitely did increase some traffic to my Instagram page and increased sales. So I continued to accept orders through DMs until I got to about 10K per month in sales. So 10K a month in sales, typically, don't quote me on the maths here, but it's, if you take a typical jilbab, for example, or, an estimate order, that would be about £35 per order. That would be about 9 to 10 orders per day. So accepting 9 to 10 orders per day, it's not very difficult to do through DMs. And it's not, to be honest, if you've got a good product, it's not very difficult to get 10 orders a day. So, accepting 10 orders a day, roughly 7 days a week, 30 days a month, let's say, that would give you your 10K per month if the average order is about £35. Of course, sometimes you get people placing orders for £100 to £200, 300 sometimes, but that's, of course, if you've got a variety of products, depending on, the price of your products and stuff. But, as you can imagine, doing orders through DMs was like personal shopping for people almost, yeah? You'd have to have a full-on conversation. So, whereas when you've got a website, customers would go to your website and go through that thought process alone or with somebody next to them. Whereas when you're accepting orders through DMs, you almost are going through that whole thought process with your customer one by one, from the beginning to the end, to the point when they decide to purchase something. They're like, what about this size? What size do you think I should have? What color do you think would suit me? My skin color, my this, my that. So you are, it was lovely talking to sisters because I was never on social media, like I said before. So I did make, some friends, alhamdulillah, who I speak to even until today. But, that process of placing the order with your customer, physically thinking through everything, having a massive conversation, started to become quite tedious and time consuming, especially if you start to consider afterwards, having to pack those orders and, manually type up their addresses and stuff, and then physically going to the post office and making the labels. I was literally cutting the labels out until I upgraded to a label printer and stuff like that. So I managed to keep accepting orders online up until about 10K per month. So at that point, I decided to think about investing into an actual website to kind of start automating things and not have everything, relying on me and restricting myself to, 24 hours in a day to be able to accept sales. The other thing is with the time frame as well, in different parts of the world, there were customers in America that I had placing orders. So, accepting orders at different times of the day, and not, because I wanted to accept the orders as and when they would DM rather than having them wait until, my working hours. So definitely at the beginning, this was, a grind for me, right? I was hustling, I was grinding, to get these orders through. But definitely I had to kind of look into automating this and taking the order process to kind of and utilize technology to my advantage in terms of accepting orders and kind of systemizing everything slowly so that I could increase capacity, because of course one person you've only got 24 hours in a day. There's only so much you can do. So as one person you are limited, or any human being, doesn't matter how many employees you have, each person is limited to a certain amount of hours per day. Whereas having a website definitely frees you up of a lot of time and takes that limit of how many orders you can accept away, of course, depending on the amount of stock you have. So as I began to, look into building a website and stuff, I did come across a few physical ways of promoting my products and my business. I was approached by various people who wanted to wholesale, who had shops and stuff. So rather than continuing to depend on social media marketing, I moved on to some forms of physical marketing. Now, I didn't go into things like stores and events and stuff like that, because I'm just a bit of a home person. I prefer to kind of stay at home, keep myself to myself. I don't really mingle too much. So I wasn't the type of person to go and attend events and stuff to promote my business. Although that is, an amazing option, and you get to kind of get to know people and build a community in that way as well. And bring exposure to your brand. Instead, I opted for things like wholesalers who would stock my products in their shop, and they would have a plaque, with my brand, in their shop that people can see. So, as customers go through different shops and they start to see that same brand pop up, again and again, and they start to notice that they like their niqabs, or they like their hijabs or the jilbabs, they might then consider to go and check you out online and find your brand online to see what else you might sell. So that's definitely an amazing form of, physical marketing. In addition to that, there were things like, sponsoring different types of events like sisters gatherings or charity events. And you can sponsor them in two different ways. Like you can actually physically sponsor them with money by, providing money for them to be able to, hire the hall and stuff and, invite speakers and stuff, or the food, in exchange for them to then mention your brand on some sort of poster or leaflet. Another way you can sponsor them is by providing a physical product that they then maybe do a bid on for charity. So instead of selling a jilbab for £35, they would go and do an auction, and that jilbab might sell for £150, which is much higher than they would normally pay. However, that money is only so high because that money goes to charity. Or you can even supply them much smaller items that they can put into gift bags and goodie bags that then exposes your brand to a lot more people. Another physical way of marketing was that I had a sister on Instagram who I met on Instagram, amazing sister, and she was doing canvas bags, and she was kind of personalizing items. So she personalized a few, like a bottle for me. She personalized quite a few things for me, but when she personalized the bags, I thought, you know what, let me support this Muslim business. Let me support this sister, as well as use the things that she's making to provide marketing, a physical form of marketing for my business. So I had these beautiful canvas bags with my branding on it, which I would give to customers who would place orders for maybe, 100 and above. So kind of having your own branded bags, or kind of, merch as people call it sometimes, having your own branded products that you give away for free or sell at a really cheap price with your brand on it is an amazing form of marketing. I have sisters until today saying, that canvas bag is amazing. I carry it everywhere I go. I've been using it for years. It's my go-to bag whenever I go to dars, and I can fit all my books in there. And at the same time, she is fully aware that she's promoting the brand, and she loves the brand. She loves the logo. She understands kind of the meaning behind that logo, which I'm obsessed with, by the way. So those are some of the ways that I was exposed to, the physical forms of marketing for my business, which definitely increased my sales a little bit more as well. But then once we actually moved into making the websites, so the husband of a friend of mine was actually building the website for me. And, as he was building the website, by the way, a lot of people think that when they build a website, they just kind of pay the money to people and they build the website for them. That's not really how it works. Like, you have to actually, provide all the writing and the content and the pictures, and, give, input into the style of website you want and the features you want the website to have. And obviously all of those things I understand now that I've got my own team that builds websites for, businesses. I do try and kind of alleviate that from my clients and my customers by kind of taking an initiative and doing some of these things myself, and, having other employees in the company and other team members to maybe do some of the copy for them, or, do some of the graphic design, just kind of alleviate that pressure of them having to produce these things. Because building a website definitely requires, a lot of little components throughout the process, like little icons and other forms of, graphics that kind of have to come together to bring the website together. But definitely building a website exposed me to like this whole world of marketing, online marketing. I was in love with what I was learning. There are so many different forms of marketing online. So there are long-term strategies for marketing online, and then there are short-term strategies that you can use for marketing online. So things like social media marketing and putting content out actually turned out to be the long-term strategies that you use to market your product and your business online. Because really, if you think about it, you are putting out content over and over again, and you are hoping that that content reaches the people that are interested in that product. And this can definitely take time. Another long-term strategy that you could use to bring more people and drive more traffic to your website are things like blogging and writing content, basically educating your customer about your product, whether it's like, tips and tricks or stories. I've got one client right now actually who she's in the medical field, and she writes things like case studies for her website. And although they are long-term strategies, they do bring traffic to your website. It does take anywhere from 6 to 12 to 18 months to actually start showing up on the search engines. But definitely using writing these things are very important. And I actually have another client who has a website, but she hardly has any writing on her website. Because there's no writing on her website, and she's only literally got the writing to do with her product, just a very short description of her product, that's not enough for search engines to pick up on exactly what your website is. You need regular updates to your website, whether it's updates to your products and, writing quite long descriptions that are, very SEO and keyword rich. Within blogs, if you can imagine, a blog, typically would be anywhere from 800 to 1,500 to 2,500 words. That's a lot of words for search engines to pick up on when you're talking about a particular product or, a particular service or whatever it is that your company offers. So yes, these are very long-term strategies, and, looking into things like ALT tags and SEO is really, really important, and keeping things up to date and making sure the website is always being updated really shows the search engines that your website is, definitely, an active authority within this particular niche that you are working in and that your business represents. So just like branding, branding takes time to build, and so do long-term marketing strategies. They do take a long time to build, but once they are built, they definitely bring amazing returns. And there are ways that you can actually keep an eye and monitor how your website is doing and how it's performing. So, you can keep an eye on, for example, what keywords are coming up. When people are searching on search engines and they end up stumbling across your website, you could actually find out exactly what words these are. And you can see how your website is doing in comparison to your competitors' websites. You can also see the authority score that your website is being given. You can see, your current traffic to your website, if you're not able to see it on your actual analytics through your website, and see how it's performing in that way as well. You can see if there are any backlinks and other websites that are mentioning your website. It's almost like tagging your website. So if you guys do want, a report on your website and your website has been active for some time, in the description under this video, I'm going to add a link where you can, request an audit to be done on your website, but only if your website has been active for some time. If it has only just, been published, you're not going to have much come up there at all. But if your website has been active for some time and you kind of want to see how it's doing, click the link below, inshallah, and just fill in just a couple details, mainly your website, which, so that we can do the audit for you. Either myself or one of my team members will get back to you and email the audit over to you, inshallah. And then I began to discover short-term marketing strategies. The reason they're short-term is because they pretty much bring you sales instantly. These are things like influencer marketing, where you do a collaboration between yourself and another influencer or a different business, where they promote your business and maybe you promote their business in order to exchange your audiences and your audience's attention. Some influencers can be amazing. They do an amazing job. They could put a lot of effort into the content they make using your product and stuff. And especially if they style it quite nicely when it comes to like things like clothes, then their followers and their viewers definitely do come back and, purchase that particular product. So it's an amazing way to kind of get a little boost, but it's definitely not a long-term thing. It only lasts, a couple weeks, couple days, and then kind of they move on to the next thing. Other short-term marketing strategies are things like paid advertising. With paid advertising, there's like a whole variety of options that you Sorry, I just had a customer come in for collection, alhamdulillah. It's so lovely meeting sisters, face to face, alhamdulillah. So some of the short-term marketing strategies that kind of bring in sales immediately, that's why they're short-term, because they do bring sales immediately. However, if you stop doing them, they typically do not carry on bringing any sort of return. So that's the positive aspect of it, that you can use them to boost sales. You can use them to keep consistent sales coming in. But at the same time, the downside is that, if you stop paying for it, you basically, the sales basically stop. So these are things like influencer marketing, things like paid ads, and even in paid ads, there are so many different options. You've got Google ads, you've got YouTube ads, you've got Facebook ads, TikTok ads, so many different types of ads. But within these as well, there are different types of campaigns you can do. You can put out videos, you can put out images, you can have them advertising on lots of different platforms, because they do have, different partnerships and collaborations within themselves. And now we've just had a fire alarm test as well. So so I keep getting distracted today, but back to the main point. So paid ads is definitely something within them as well. The companies have partnerships with other companies. So your potential customers could be browsing a blog or some sort of website, and your pictures would be popping up on these websites as a promotion, as an ad. So these are the different forms of marketing that are available out there. So definitely utilizing these to your advantage can definitely bring in, consistent sales. Even the biggest companies, continue to invest a portion of their budget towards marketing, because they do bring returns. And marketing is what helps to build your brand. It helps to build your business and bring in consistent sales and, ultimately grow your business. So I'll also be doing a workshop on this, inshaAllah, in more detail. So if you're interested, definitely check the link in the description as well. But for now, I need to get back to work, inshaAllah. The sisters just come and brought me a nice chai. And I need to get back to making some content, inshaAllah. Assalamu alaikum.